Welcome back, my friends. If you have seen any of my other videos pertaining to growing out my hair, then you're well aware that I stopped dyeing my hair. At this point, it's been 6 months. And the last time I dyed my hair was May 10th. It is November 12th. So I'm a couple days past that point as of the time I'm filming this. And then, of course, I'm not sure what day it will end up hitting my YouTube page because I have to find a little time to edit, so it might still be a few days from now. So, before I get into anything else, let's take a look at my line of demarcation, which, you're kind of seeing from this angle here, which isn't so much of a stark line when it's kind of going back either in this way or in this way. That looks pretty nice too. I usually have my hair back in a ponytail or up in some kind of a twist where this is more flat. I do think that, first of all, that's just more comfortable for me in my day-to-day working situation. And, it's, in terms of the gray grow out, I do think it looks a little nicer kind of coming back like this. It looks longer. It looks like there's more of it grown out because the different hairs are going back in a line one after the other. So it just looks like there's more length. And I kind of like that about it. I think it doesn't look as long like this, but my hair looks in some ways a little bit better like this. As you might know from some of my other videos, I have been experimenting with stopping shampoo, and I'm still trying to get a lot of balances correct with that, and as a result, some days my hair looks better than others. Today's not one of my most fabulous hair days. It's also not one of the worst. Anyway, so more on that in times ahead. Anyway, let's take a look at this. I was measuring this the other day. Now, I've mentioned in other videos that I spent several years in a long hair salon, and the long hair specialist at that salon, he actually would measure everyone's hair as after the end of a cut, and he kept detailed records on a card. So he would be able to tell from a person's last visit to the one that they were on now just how much their hair had grown. And mine was consistently growing a half an inch per month, which is the average hair growth. That's the average hair growth that he always talked about, and that I've heard many other people consistently talk about. And what I have consistently noticed over the years of dyeing my hair was that about 4 weeks later, it looked like I had a half an inch of growth. But for some strange reason, I broke out with a ruler the other day, and I was measuring this, and it's not a full 3 inches yet. And in some places, it's about 2.5, like down here on the sides. And I have to say, I'm a little sad about that. Yeah, especially on these sides here, it's not as long. But even up here where it looks a little longer, it's really not 3 inches. It's about 2.5, and I think actually in some of these areas it's maybe 2. So I am a little sad about that. And I've heard a lot of women mention consistently this one thing I'm about to share, that as it grows, it keeps looking different. And I've consistently heard them say, or read them in comments, them say that you're never really going to know exactly what your pattern is really going to look like, what the coloring is really going to look like, until it's really all grown out. Now, with hair as long as mine, I don't know if it has to be all grown out, but I'm guessing that it's probably going to need to be at least to here to really start to get an accurate picture. Because although I had really been of the belief early on in this journey of mine, as I was hearing and reading these comments consistently, that I was going to be of this exception because I'm so good at visualizing, and I could see where the more white parts were versus the darker parts. Yes, I really thought that I had a very accurate idea in my imagination of what this was going to look like. But I have to say that it is changing all the time in how it comes across to me. Seriously, every few weeks it looks kind of different. The coloring looks just different, and sometimes it just looks like there's more white. than what it originally was looking like to me, which truthfully I was a little disappointed in. I thought that I wanted to have more white, and it was looking like there was less of it at first, and I was kind of bummed. And now it's looking like there's more, so that's kind of cool. Although I've been having to now get used to that. And if you've seen some of my thoughts and feelings videos before, then you may remember me saying that there's been times where I have to start getting used to how I look in the mirror, and I've kind of had some more of that going on because it keeps looking different. I'll go more into depth on that in a different video though. I like to keep that kind of stuff separate for you guys who don't really want to hear about it and who just want to see the grow out and what that reality is. So yes, it's growing. If you look at my 2-month video, I really noticed even between my 2-month and I guess 3 or 4 months, that while, living with this day to day, it seems like it's growing so slowly, it almost seems like not that much is happening. But when I go back and look at those points, then I can really tell, like, oh wow, it really has grown. Like, it really does look different. So documenting this is definitely good. Definitely document it if you do it. Pictures, videos, whatever. Even if you don't make them public, even if you keep it for yourself, there will be times where you will be glad that you have it for reference. Especially, it goes so slow when it's you and you're living it and you see yourself every day. It just seems like it's going at a snail pace. Another thing that's been happening, and I heard a lot of women comment on this, that they start getting a lot of new hair growth. Now, it's natural that we lose some hairs pretty much each time we wash our hair or even really brush it. You'll see a few hairs in the brush or in your hands from washing it. It's not normal to lose handfuls at a time, but it is normal to lose, I don't know, I don't recall what the average number is. At one time I was very aware of that. It's not a tremendous amount though. And eventually you will grow new hair to replace what you have lost. So from time to time over the years, I would say it was pretty sporadic. I wouldn't say I would notice this tremendously often, but at points I would notice little new hairs kind of growing up here. And I would say that this happened again for me maybe about 2 or 3 months before the last time I dyed my hair. So you can see some spots here, well maybe a little bit longer, but you can see this isn't that long compared to the rest of my hair. So I started getting some new hair growth here, and what's been happening though is, well, what really first drew my attention to it is, do you see these really crazy waves? Okay, my hair I don't think was looking like this before, and I'm like, what is with all these waves? But what I started noticing is that a lot of this is new growth. Look how short this is. And I even have a lot like coming in this front line here and over here too. For some reason this side is more smooth in how it's acting. But there's a lot of really short hairs coming in now, and I don't recall ever having this much new hair growth so fast on top of a spurt that I had already gotten like a few months before. And I don't recall this much. Like, there's just a lot now that is these shorter lengths. And I didn't cut my hair like that. I don't do that there. That's one of the reasons I kind of was starting to think about growing my hair out in the first place, is I knew I really didn't want to make bangs to try and help then hide the regrowth of my white hairs coming in, because I don't really prefer that look of a haircut on myself. I prefer this kind of shape, although today again it's not the best idea. I know it looks a little straggly. So yeah, I feel that there's just a lot more new growth coming in, and I had sensed before when I heard people talking about this that the idea behind it was that now that I'm not putting all these chemicals on my hair, I'm getting all this new hair growth, and people who have been transitioning for a while consistently seem to say that their hair is thicker again, that they realize that they'd been losing a lot of hair density from having been dyeing it, although maybe they didn't realize that that was happening till after they stopped dyeing it. Some months went by and now they were having all this increased thickness and new hairs growing back in, that they kind of connected the dots. So while I was aware of that information, I hadn't really thought so much of it in relation to my own personal journey. I wasn't really thinking, oh, am I going to get a lot of hair, you know? But now that I'm seeing so much extra hair growing in at a rate that I just don't remember having it this fast, this on top of each other, it's kind of exciting. And I can say that the new growth is a lot softer. You know, once hair gets down to here, it's several years old. So even if there is no chemical processing or heat styling on a regular basis going on, if there's regular shampoo use, that does tend to cause some kind of impact. Even if you have straight hair and shampoo isn't causing as much problems to your hair as it does curly hair, it still has an impact over time. There's still chemicals in it, and it goes into the cuticle layer, and the same with some of the conditioners. The fragrances can tend to embed. And so by the time you get hair down to here, even if you haven't been doing the dyes, the chemicals, the heat processing, it's still many years old by the time it gets down here. So what will this feel like if I continue to keep my hair this long? Once this is down here, I don't really know. Will it be as soft and wonderful as this up here? It's hard to say, because even though I haven't dyed the length of my hair very frequently, I've mostly been just dyeing the roots, and very occasionally, like maybe once a year or so, bringing it down here. It still has had some impact, although maybe less impact than if I was bringing the dye down, like, you know, maybe 3-4 times a year would have more impact. But it's still having some impact that this hair would obviously not have. So I guess time will tell, though, because there's still the elements, there's still the sunshine, there's still just life, there's still just, my hair is maybe 5 years old by the time it gets down here, however long it's going to take. So that all remains to be seen, but as always, I will share it here with you. And again, thank you for stopping by. And if you are on your own growing out your natural hair color journey, or are seriously thinking of it, then please consider subscribing here, and let's go on the journey together. Thank you again for stopping by.